Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining with me today. My name is Kevin Chakornsiri, and I've been working in Agoda for around 1 year and 3 months. So I've been pretty new. And one thing I found out in Agoda is that there's a lot of first time for me. And yeah, so the first one is Agoda is actually my first company. And yeah, my first full-time company actually. And this is also the first time where I get to stand up on a stage for so many people. Yeah, thank you. And awesome people to you guys, yeah. And for the third one is our team, the SEO team is lucky enough to be one of the first team that gets to play around with the ChatGPT. So today I feel very grateful to be able to share of what our team have been doing in the last few months using the ChatGPT. So every one of you may have known already, but SEO is a crucial part of the digital marketing. We constantly need fresh and quality content that resonates with the users, but especially the search engine. In order to create a content that is consistent and at a scalable, is still an ongoing challenge. And because this requires a lot of resources, time, and deep SEO knowledge. So, so when we come up with the on how we actually going to solve this, we take a look at the ChatGPT. So first, let me give you some numbers. SEO is responsible for around 20 million pages. These are all pages. Example includes the hotel pages, the geo landing pages, and also in all different languages. So as you can see, there's a lot of pages. These are just the one that we want to put in the search engine. There's much more than that, but these are the one that we want to focus on. So you might be asking, how much does it take to actually generate a content for a page? So it actually takes 8 man-hours to create a content for a page. So if we multiply this by the previous number, it turns out to be 160 million hours. Now, this might be, we might not be able to grasp what this number means, but it is actually, so sorry, this slide is actually wrong, but it's actually 18,000 years, which is still a lot. Now, of course, the SEO team do all sorts of optimization and prioritization on our resources to see which page we want to focus on, and so that we can optimize with the best result. But it still leaves a lot of potential on the table because there's still a lot of pages that might be able to perform better given the correct content. So now it comes a company called OpenAI. Despite the recent controversies, there are some, they have developed a very revolutionary product, which is called the ChatGPT. So most of you may have already know to some extent what it does. So it basically generates a text-based answer based on the user input prompt. So SEO see this opportunity and wants to generate the content using ChatGPT instead of using the handwritten way. So we cannot just actually ask it to generate any content. We need to go through the process called prompt engineering, which is a process of carefully constructing the keywords and phrases so that we can guarantee that ChatGPT will always return the desired result. So in this case, if we just put in any prompt, it will say no, or generate some contents that is not up to our standard. So SEO work with the content team to come up with a very good prompt so that we make sure it returns correctly. So here is an example of what a good prompt looks like. So it says, write a short introductory paragraph with a title about Grand Central Hotel, a 5-star hotel located in Bangkok, blah, blah, blah. And the return, the ChatGPT will return, indulge in a luxurious stay at Grand Central Point Hotel Rashidamli, blah, 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 going onward. And you can see we can really use this content on our description page. But there comes the next challenge. How do we actually scale it for 20 million pages? So SEO is actually quite familiar with this kind of scaled data processing. We have a system called the pre-render, which renders the page, Agoda page, and then store it in the cache, which then subsequently serve it to the bot. This is because bots do not know how to run JavaScript. So we need this system to constantly try and keep update the cache. So when designing this system, we have some sort of like a philosophy that's in mind that we want to try and use the existing system as much as possible. This so that we can move fast and then see what kind of results we're actually getting, and if this is actually the way to go. So we create something called the SEO GPT. Now it comprises of 3 processes: the injection, the queue, and the worker. So this is quite similar to an architecture called the web queue worker architecture, just removing the web part and then inject it directly into the queue. So let's first start with the, we also developed this because of the philosophy that I just explained. We're able to develop this under a month. So let's start with the injection. So let's go back to this chat prompt. So we can actually separate this into 2 parts. The first part is the prompt template, and the second one is the keywords. So the prompt template is basically static. For the same type of page, it will always be the same. But for the keywords, it is dynamic, which means it's always changing depending on what page it is actually generating. In this case, it is generating for Grand Central Hotel. So we're going to focus on these keywords for now. So because for the template, we'll leave it that for later. For the keywords, we store into a database where each column is the data type that we want to subsequently pull. And these keywords will then get put by a .NET project called a universal MQ injector, where we pull this data from the database. And this functions as an injector into the queue. So next, we're going to talk about the queue. So for the queue, we use something called a RabbitMQ. You might have already heard this on the last Agoda day. So we separate it into a multiple queue where the injection will choose the queue based on what type of data it is actually injecting. So we may have something like a geo page or the property page, or in the future, a flight page where we can generate content for it. And once the data is in the queue, it will be ready to be consumed by the worker. So lastly, this is the worker. So if we go back to the prompt template where I was talking about, it is actually pre-programmed into the geo worker. So basically, the worker just pull the data from the queue and then replace those data with the placeholder. And then the complete prompt is now ready to be sent to the OpenAI endpoint. Now the worker will then receive the result and store those results into the contents database, where it can then subsequently be shown on the front end of the website. So we host this worker on something called a Portainer. This is a image container management system. So fun fact, actually, the SEO teams deployed this by ourselves because at the time, for a long time ago, there wasn't something like the private cloud. So we want to use something that we're familiar with. So we deploy this quickly into the container. And we can scale them to however much we want depending on the resources. So of course, now that we have private cloud, we just migrated to Microsoft Cloud smoothly, and everything still works as intended. So so now so you guys might be wondering, how does it perform? But before we go, I would like to give a shout out to two people who's contributing heavily into this project. The first one is Pipai, Kietisak Angkanawin, and O Kantapong Nasongkla. They are two of the main guys who actually developed the system at the first stage. And yeah, thank you guys. So the performance. Oh yeah, you may clap your hand for them too. Yeah. Okay, now comes the big review. So it consumes up to 1.8 million TPM. The TPM, it's not a technical product manager, but yeah, just happened to be the same. So what's this number mean? Well, TPM stands for token per minute. So in order to generate, so it is actually consuming 1.8 million token per minute. So to generate a page, it requires around 2,000 to 5,000 token, depending on the amount of content you want to generate. So if we go back to the previous number of, not 74, it's 18. Put that in Kahoot so you guys remember it. Okay, so for 18,000 years, it reduces to only 40 days to generate every content on Agoda page. So with this fast content generations pipeline that we have already, what can we actually develop further in the future? Well, first one, definitely the prompt A/B experimentation. So we want to be able to experiment on what type of prompt which will generate better content. And the second one is maybe generate a travel articles, recommendations, and reviews, so that there can be more channels for the SEO or even opening up to new customers. And because we can generate such a large content at such a short time, we can maybe actually do some personalized marketing and promotion for users that have similar interests. And lastly, we can even do some hacking, so do a QA checking on its own output. We've already been experimenting on this, and there seems to be some success so far, but yeah. So we want to be able to check that every content that is being generated by the ChatGPT is actually makes sense, and let it check itself. But we're still on the research on that one. So, oh, missing one page. We're missing one page. It should be a thank you page, but yeah. So I hope you're as excited I am on this one, on the ChatGPT and its future stuff that we can do with it. And if you have any questions or interested in our system over here, please feel free to contact me or any of the SEO members or the hashtag SEO channel on Slack. Okay, thank you very much.